This right here is a really massive scoop on how Nintendo plans to navigate the waters of the next 6 months. Hold your breath. Actually, don't hold your breath. It's probably really bad for your health. This is, I guess it's what we should have expected, but yeah, oof. It's not about Switch 2. It's all about Switch 1, so know that. And it's a very interesting look ahead to what might be in the cards for our calendars and our Switch cartridges. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hope you're all doing fantastic out there, bringing this to you straight from Brazil, a source who is very, very well respected in 2024. And he's talking about Nintendo's plan for Switch 1 leading up to and even beyond the Switch 2. Now, this is very interesting because it assumes a world where the Switch 2 exists. No, obviously it exists, but it's funny to think of a post-Switch 2 world because we can't even get the darn announcement. Regardless, we know that Nintendo will aggressively support the Switch 1 because the user base, the install base, it's huge, and they would be foolish to let that go, leave that behind. In the same way that FIFA and Just Dance and these games are always released on previous consoles, in the same way that Xbox and PlayStation still courted their past console users even after releasing PS5 and the Series consoles, Nintendo is looking to do the same thing. Now, Brazil says they will accomplish this in the same way everybody accomplishes it, which is third-party games that are remasters. I feel like this is what everybody has done lately, is find ways for third parties to fill the gap, and it's remaster, remake city in our timeline. What's interesting is that Brazil goes into extreme detail on specific games that are going to be covered by these third parties and will be remade for the Nintendo Switch in 2025. You want to get into the list? Let's get into it. We got stuff from Western third-party publishers, Bandai Namco, EA, Ubisoft, and there's more. He says there will be a remaster for a GameCube and a 3DS game. We've heard that before, and it seems like those are going to be maybe Nintendo games. Seems like those two are Nintendo games. Like, they are going to be first-party titles. And of course, Nintendo would be foolish not to have some first-party titles, especially if they're just going to pull directly from GameCube or 3DS, like they did with Luigi's Mansion 2, like they've done in the past with Mario vs. Donkey Kong and other titles. You just grab them from the handheld or you grab them from the GameCube and you port them over with some done-up graphics. Where it gets really interesting, though, is what Ubisoft is planning to bring. He's got Splinter Cell Blacklist as a game that Ubisoft is going to be remastering for Nintendo Switch. Now, this is very interesting. Splinter Cell is a game, a franchise rather, that I don't know why it's gone away. I think it could be really popular. I think it would earn Ubisoft a lot of good faith. But Splinter Cell Blacklist came out in 2013. Now, what's funny is Splinter Cell Blacklist came out on the Wii U. So there's already a baseline, I think, with working with Nintendo on this game, and they could bring it over. Would I want to replay Splinter Cell Blacklist? That's going to be a 12-year-old game. I think it's going to feel very antiquated. And in many ways, while they might be using remasters to gauge interest on Splinter Cell, dude, I think this is a bad move. I think trying to leverage a 12-year-old game to see if you have the fan base to make a new game is just downright silly. Just make a new game. People will buy it. I think people are far more eager to buy a Splinter Cell than they are Assassin's Creed 1 million. Regardless, they also say that they're going to be remaking Rayman 3, or remastering rather, sorry. The line is very fine, but these are being touted as remasters. Rayman 3 remastered. Now, this is not the new Rayman game that is being rumored right now, the Rayman remake. This would just be a Rayman remaster. Driver 1 plus 2, and potentially Driver San Francisco down the line, and 2 more unnamed titles under consideration. So that's a lot of games. That's upwards of 6 titles from Ubisoft to fill the gap and to continue to cater to the Switch audience. Now, what's interesting here is that Nintendo and probably their best partners, who I'd say are like Capcom, Ubisoft can be at times, and Ubisoft will probably play both sides of the coin, but like Capcom as a really top-tier partner will be focusing, I'm sure, on Switch 2 games. Nintendo obviously focusing on Switch 2, but they want to release some software that still can be played and still can appeal to Switch 1, and surely, as long as there's backwards and forwards compatibility, which we basically know there's backwards, I 100% assume that there's going to be either, upgrades or forwards compatibility as well. These games can sell to everybody, but be targeted specifically at Switch 1 players that might feel left behind. EA is rumored to bring Wii games over. Boomblocks, anyone? We get a Boomblocks Switch remaster. No specifics on which games EA would be bringing. I think the Jedi Fallen games would be great, although to me those might need the Switch 2's power, so I don't know that those really fit the bill. Dead Space, the light gun game, was on the Wii, so they could bring that back. I guess we're thinking of EA Wii games here that aren't sports titles, because they're obviously not remastering sports games. Bandai Namco, they say, is multiple projects as well. No naming of what those are, but Bandai Namco works with plenty of IP. They could easily bring over some franchise-based games to, that would sell well. Maybe even, some past iterations of like Dragon Ball, since Sparking Zero is doing so good, etc. Brazil also says that big Western third-party publisher will have 2 re-releases. A big Western third-party publisher. So is this Bethesda? To me, that's the best guess, and that would be fantastic if we could get Fallout 3 and 4, right, over on Nintendo Switch. Or could they squeeze Starfield? I feel like you need Switch 2 for that. Who else is a big Western third-party publisher? I mean, Bethesda with Microsoft. Activision, perhaps? Activision could have some Call of Duty titles that they're going to re-release on Nintendo Switch. And just to be clear, Brazil is specifically saying that this is to satiate and fill up the Switch 1 audience and ecosystem. That's not just me making that up. That's the reason for these remasters. So in no way does it seem like this is, guys, Nintendo's buying time because the Switch 2 isn't releasing to the holiday season. These things exist separately. The Switch 2, whenever that's going to be revealed, whenever that's going to come out, does not cross wires with this, which is a plan to feed the Switch 1 audience even after Switch 2 is out. So this is in no way indicating that, gosh, the calendar is going to be very boring and very dull for Nintendo in 2025. It's indicating that the calendar is going to be extra fleshed out because Nintendo and some partners have moved on to Switch 2 development and have been there probably for a while. Whereas some other publishers, and maybe even just some divisions of the publishers, are going to be continuing to work on Switch 1 games to feed that audience and sell. And in many ways, this is, I think, quite good. Because look, Nintendo utilized the Switch 1 to build up money and user base and confidence by selling remasters and old games to justify new adventures. Now Nintendo has an old system, the Switch 1 itself, to do that, so the Switch 2 doesn't have to have its calendar plagued by remasters and re-releases. That can be done on the Switch 1, and the Switch 2 can be the system for brand new games and exciting day-and-date multi-platform releases. Obviously, there's still going to be some remasters and some remakes and some re-releases on Switch 2, but giving us sort of this 2-pillar thing going on with Switch 1 and Switch 2, there's a place where these games can say, hey, we're going to put out Splinter Cell Blacklist to an audience of 120 million, 130 million, and hopefully a few people buy it, and that can help fund whatever we're working on for the Switch 2. Hey, we're going to put out Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 on the Switch 1. Therefore, maybe Microsoft is more incentivized to work on something bigger and better for the Switch 2. Obviously, if you want to continue playing these types of games on your Switch 2, you're going to be able to do that with backwards compatibility. But if you would rather have Nintendo's calendar not bogged down, as some might say, by these ports, you're going to have what I feel will be a fully fleshed out slate of releases as well. This, to me, is best of both worlds. It makes a ton of sense from a financial standpoint. It's really nice for people that can't upgrade to Switch 2 to continue releasing titles. It's my belief that Nintendo will probably do a 75-25 split, in that 75% of their new games will release exclusively for Switch 2 to encourage transition. 25% of their games will be cross-gen releases. Like, I think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a cross-gen release. They promised that on Switch, boom, bang, bam. Pokemon Legends Z, a cross-gen release. They've sort of talked about that on Switch. It's going to be on Switch 2 as well. Mario Kart 9, new 3D Mario, Smash Brothers next. Those games, to me, seem like system sellers for your Switch 2. So it's good to know that Nintendo's already making plans with Ubisoft, EA, Bandai Namco, Western publishers, and themselves, right? Remember, don't forget, Brazil says that there still is a GameCube and a 3DS game that are being remastered for Nintendo Switch, whatever those might be. It's going to be good eating for those who can't make the upgrade, choose not to make the upgrade, or just really enjoy the nostalgic play of experiencing these types of games in a portable fashion. I think this is fantastic news. I trust Brazil on this. Don't know when the Switch 2 is going to be revealed, but to me, if Nintendo is really actively and aggressively planning to fill the Switch 1 pot even after the Switch 2 is the focus, that means it's got to be pretty close. I don't see a world where the Switch 2 can come out holiday 2025, because then we will have a 2025 calendar that is just filled with these types of games. It's quite evident that Nintendo is not releasing many more first-party titles on the Switch 1. They've got none announced beyond January, mid-January with Donkey Kong, and they've got Metroid Prime 4 with no date. That seems like it's going to be a cross-gen title. Unless you're going to tell me that Pokemon Legends ZA, Metroid Prime 4, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and a few other titles from Nintendo are all going to release Switch 1 only, and the Switch 2 is going to come out in September, October, November, I still firmly believe this is a first half of 2025 release for the new system, and I think Brazil's details and insight and info on Splinter Cell Blacklist, Rayman 3, Driver, Wii games from EA, Bandai games from yesteryear, and Western publisher games, that shows like, okay, Nintendo is moving into a new phase. They haven't announced anything beyond Donkey Kong, a new phase where this is what fills the Switch 1's calendar, and we're on to Switch 2. Hopefully we just see it and find out about it soon. It seems like it's taking forever. Feel like next week is kind of our last hurrah. Then it's Brothership, the election, Black Friday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, holidays. It's either in the next 24 hours or it's next week. And then from there, you can still announce it in 2025 and release 2025. But this is not a Switch 2 video. This is Switch 1. Are you excited for Splinter Cell Blacklist on the Switch? Any EA Wii games come to mind that you'd want to play? That Dead Space Light Gun game was pretty good, actually. Any Bandai Namco games that you want? And do you think the Western publisher is Bethesda or Activision? Those are my best guesses, especially given how Nintendo has partnered with Microsoft in the past. But let me know your take in the comments down below, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.